Marcus Reed's fist shattered the car window. Glass exploded across the snow as he reached through, yanking the door handle with frozen fingers. The woman inside wasn't moving. Her lips were blue. The temperature had dropped to -15, and her luxury sedan had been dead for God knows how long. "Ma'am! Ma'am, can you hear me?" He grabbed her shoulder, shook hard. Her eyes fluttered open, confused, terrified, barely conscious. "I've got you," Marcus said, his Marine training kicking in. "Stay with me." He didn't know her name. Didn't know she was worth $3 billion. Didn't know this moment would change both their lives forever. He just knew she was dying. And he'd be damned if he let that happen on his watch. Now, before we dive into what happened next, do me a favor. Drop a comment below telling me what city you're watching from. I want to see how far this story travels. And if you're new here, hit that subscribe button because you won't believe where this goes. Trust me. Marcus pulled Victoria Langston from the car like she weighed nothing. Years of lifting engine blocks and carrying his daughter to bed had made him strong, but it was adrenaline doing the heavy lifting now. Her designer coat was soaked through, useless against Wyoming's fury. The blizzard screamed around them, turning the world into a white roar. "What's your name?" Marcus shouted over the wind. She tried to answer. Her jaw trembled. Nothing came out. Okay, don't talk. Just hold on to me." He half-carried, half-dragged her toward his garage 30 feet away. 30 feet that felt like 30 miles. The snow was already past his knees, and every step forward felt like the wind wanted to shove them backward into oblivion. His garage lights were the only thing visible in the entire world. 2 yellow rectangles promising warmth and survival. They made it. Marcus kicked the door shut behind them, and the storm's roar became muffled, distant. He lowered Victoria onto the old couch in his office, the one he'd pulled from a junkyard 5 years ago. She collapsed into it, shaking violently. "I need to get you warm," Marcus said, already moving. He grabbed the space heater from under his desk, cranked it to maximum, positioned it in front of her. Then he stripped off his own jacket, his only jacket, and wrapped it around her shoulders. "No," she managed to whisper. "You'll freeze." "I'm not the one who was sitting in a dead car for an hour," Marcus said. "How long were you out there?" I don't know. 30 minutes? Maybe more?" "Jesus." Marcus ran his hand over his face. "Your car just die on you?" She nodded, teeth chattering so hard she could barely speak. The battery warning light came on. Then everything just stopped." Marcus knew exactly what had happened. He'd seen it 100 times. Luxury cars, all computerized, all dependent on electronics. One cold snap, and they became expensive paperweights. But he didn't say that. Not now. "I'm Marcus," he said instead. "Marcus Reed. This is my garage. You're safe now." "Victoria," she whispered. "Victoria Langston." The name meant nothing to him. Should it have? Maybe. But Marcus didn't spend his days reading Forbes or watching business news. He spent them trying to keep broken cars running and broken lives together. "Okay, Victoria, here's what's going to happen. I'm going to make you something hot to drink. Then I'm going to check your fingers and toes for frostbite. And then we're going to figure out what to do about that car of yours. Sound good?" She nodded. Marcus moved to the small kitchenette he'd set up in the back corner. A hot plate, a coffee maker, a mini fridge that barely worked. He filled a mug with water, set it on the hot plate, and grabbed the instant coffee. Then he stopped. Coffee wouldn't cut it. She needed calories, heat from the inside out. He opened his lunchbox, the one Nia had packed for him that morning. Inside was a thermos of soup, chicken and rice. His daughter had made it herself, insisting he needed to eat something warm today. He'd planned to save it for dinner. Marcus poured the soup into the mug instead. Here, he handed it to Victoria. Drink this, slowly. She wrapped both hands around the mug like it was a life raft, took a small sip, her eyes closed. "Oh my God," she breathed. That's the best thing I've ever tasted." Marcus almost laughed. "It's Campbell's from a can. My daughter added some rice and frozen vegetables." "Your daughter?" "Nia. She's 11. Thinks she's a chef." Pride crept into his voice despite everything. "She's at my sister's place tonight. Thank God. This storm would have scared her." Victoria took another sip, and some color started returning to her face. "You have family nearby?" "My sister lives 2 streets over. She watches Nia when I work late." Marcus pulled up a chair, sat down across from her. "Speaking of which, what the hell are you doing out here in weather like this? Didn't you hear the warnings?" "I was in a meeting in Cheyenne. It ran late. I thought I could make it to my hotel in Laramie before the storm hit." "Cheyenne to Laramie in a blizzard? That's 60 miles of open highway." "I realize that now," Victoria said quietly. Marcus studied her. Even soaked and shivering, there was something put together about her. Her clothes were expensive. He could tell by the stitching, the fabric. Her watch probably cost more than his truck. Her whole presence screamed money and power. But right now, none of that mattered. Right now, she was just another person who'd underestimated Wyoming winter and almost paid the price. "How are your fingers feeling?" Marcus asked. "Any numbness? Tingling?" Victoria flexed her hands. "They hurt. Is that bad?" "Hurting is good. Means blood flow. No feeling is bad." He leaned forward. "Can I check?" She held out her hands. Marcus took them gently, examining her fingers in the light. They were red, not white or gray. Good sign. He pressed on her fingertips, watching the color return when he released. "You're okay," he said. "No frostbite. You got lucky." "Lucky?" Victoria let out a shaky laugh. "I almost died out there." "But you didn't, and now you're warm and safe and drinking soup." Marcus stood. "Let me check your car, see if I can get it running." "In this?" Victoria gestured toward the window, where snow pelted the glass like bullets. "I've worked in worse." "Please don't. It's not worth it. I can call a tow truck." "No tow trucks are running tonight," Marcus said flatly. "Roads are closed. This storm's going to last until morning, at least." The words hung in the air. Victoria's expression shifted from relief to realization to something like fear. "So I'm stuck here?" "For tonight, yeah." Marcus grabbed his jacket back from her shoulders, started putting it on. "But don't worry, my place is just out back. Small cabin, but it's warm and dry. You can stay there." Victoria stiffened. "I can't ask you to." "You're not asking. I'm offering." Marcus met her eyes. "Listen, I know how this looks. Strange man, strange woman, middle of nowhere. But I promise you, you're safe with me. I've got a daughter to think about. I don't do anything that would make her ashamed of me." Something in his voice, in his eyes, made Victoria's shoulders relax. She nodded slowly. "Okay. Thank you." "Don't thank me yet. Place is pretty rough, but it's got heat and a bed and food." Marcus headed for the door. "I'm going to check your car quick. Lock this door behind me. Don't open it unless you hear my voice." He disappeared into the blizzard before she could respond. The cold hit Marcus like a physical blow. The wind had picked up, gusting hard enough to knock him sideways. He pulled his jacket tight and pushed forward, using the car's shape as a guide through the white chaos. Victoria's sedan was already half buried in snow. Marcus climbed into the driver's seat, brushed snow off the dashboard, tried the ignition. Nothing, not even a click. He popped the hood, climbed back out, fought his way to the front of the car. The hood was frozen shut. He had to slam his fist against it 3 times before it gave way. The battery was dead, completely dead. And even if he could charge it, the electronics were fried from the cold. This car wasn't going anywhere tonight. Maybe not for days. Marcus slammed the hood shut and trudged back to the garage. Victoria unlocked the door when she heard him knock. He stumbled inside, covered in snow, breathing hard. "Well?" she asked. "Your car's dead. I can probably fix it, but not tonight. Not in this." Marcus brushed snow from his hair. "You're definitely staying at my place." Victoria stood. "I should try to find a hotel." "There's no hotel within walking distance, and even if there was, you'd die trying to get there." Marcus wasn't being dramatic. He was being honest. "Look, I get it. You don't know me. You're probably thinking about all the horror stories. But I give you my word. You're safer with me than you are trying to navigate this storm." Victoria looked at him for a long moment. Marcus didn't flinch, didn't look away. He just waited. "Okay," she said finally. "I trust you." "Good. Grab your stuff. We're going out the back." The cabin was exactly what Marcus had promised. Small, rough, but warm. One main room with a kitchenette, a worn couch, a TV that only got 3 channels, a tiny bathroom, a single bedroom that belonged to Nia. Marcus would sleep on the couch. Victoria stood in the doorway, dripping melted snow onto the floor, taking it all in. "I'll get you some dry clothes," Marcus said, already moving toward a closet. "They won't fit great, but they're better than what you're wearing." He handed her a pair of his sweatpants, a Marines t-shirt, thick socks. Victoria accepted them without comment and disappeared into the bathroom. Marcus used the time to clean up. He stoked the fire in the wood stove, put on a pot of coffee, pulled out leftovers from the fridge. Nia had made mac and cheese the night before, the real kind, not from a box. There was enough for 2. When Victoria emerged, she looked different. Smaller somehow. More human. The expensive armor was gone, replaced by clothes 3 sizes too big. She'd pulled her hair back into a wet ponytail. Without makeup, he could see freckles across her nose. "Better?" Marcus asked. "Much, thank you." "You hungry? I've got mac and cheese. It's homemade." "I don't want to take your food." "Victoria." Marcus held up a hand. "Stop. You're a guest in my home. I'm feeding you. That's the end of it." She smiled for the first time since he'd pulled her from the car. "Okay." They ate at the small kitchen table. Just 2 chairs, one of them missing a screw that made it wobble. Marcus watched Victoria take her first bite and saw her eyes widen. "Oh, wow," she said. "This is really good." "Told you Nia thinks she's a chef." Marcus took a bite of his own. "She watches cooking shows on YouTube. Drives me crazy with ingredient lists I can't afford. But she makes it work with what we have." "She sounds remarkable." "She is." Marcus felt his chest tighten with pride and worry in equal measure. Smart as hell. Gets straight A's. Wants to be an engineer. "That's wonderful." "Yeah, if we can afford college." The words came out before Marcus could stop them. He grimaced. "Sorry, that's not your problem." "Don't apologize." Victoria set down her fork. "Can I ask you something?" "Sure." "Why did you help me? You don't know me." "I could have been anyone." Marcus shrugged. "You needed help. I could give it. That's all the reason I needed. Most people wouldn't." "Then most people are wrong." Marcus's voice was firm, but not angry. "My daughter's watching, even when she's not here. Everything I do, she sees, eventually. And I want her to see a man who helps people. Not a man who walks away because it's inconvenient or risky." Victoria stared at him. "You're a good man, Marcus Reed." "I'm just a man," Marcus said quietly, "trying to do right by my kid." They finished eating in comfortable silence. Then Marcus stood, started clearing plates. "Let me help," Victoria said, jumping up. "Absolutely not. You're still recovering." "I'm fine now, really." She grabbed her plate before he could. "Please, I need to do something. I feel useless just sitting here." Marcus recognized that tone, the need to contribute, to not be a burden. He felt it every time his sister insisted on buying Naya school supplies. "Okay," he said. "You wash, I'll dry." They worked side by side at the small sink. The cabin creaked around them as the blizzard raged outside. But inside, it was warm, safe, almost peaceful. "Can I ask you something now?" Marcus said as he dried a plate. "Of course." "What kind of meeting has you driving across Wyoming in winter?" Victoria's hands paused in the soapy water. I'm in automotive manufacturing. I was meeting with potential suppliers." "Automotive manufacturing," Marcus repeated. "Like what? Parts?" "Among other things." Victoria's voice was careful. "We're a fairly large company." "How large?" She hesitated. Marcus caught it. "Victoria," he said gently, "I'm not asking so I can hit you up for money or a job. I'm just making conversation." She looked at him, searching his face. Whatever she saw there made her relax. "Very large," she said quietly. 17 billion in annual revenue. Operations in 23 countries. I'm the CEO. Marcus's hand stopped mid-dry. He looked at her, really looked at her. This woman in his too big sweatpants, washing dishes in his falling-apart cabin. 17 billion, he said slowly. Yes. And you're the CEO? Yes. Marcus set down the plate. And you didn't lead with that because... Because it doesn't matter right now, Victoria said firmly. Right now, I'm just a person who made a stupid decision and would be dead if you hadn't helped me. The CEO thing, that's just a job. A job running a company worth billions. Still just a job. Victoria handed him the last plate. It doesn't change who I am in this moment. Marcus dried the plate in silence, processing. Finally, he laughed, a short, surprised sound. What's funny? Victoria asked. I've fixed cars my whole life, worked on engines, transmissions, electrical systems. And now I'm standing here with the CEO of an automotive empire, washing dishes in my cabin because she got stranded in a storm. He shook his head. Life's weird sometimes. It really is, Victoria agreed. For what it's worth, I've sat in boardrooms with billionaires and politicians and industry titans, and I've never felt as real as I do right now, standing here, washing dishes, with you. Their eyes met. Marcus saw something in her expression, a loneliness that money couldn't fix, a hunger for connection that power couldn't satisfy. Well, Marcus said, breaking the moment, CEO or not, you're welcome here as long as you need to be. Storm should pass by morning. I'll get your car fixed tomorrow. Thank you, Marcus. Truly. No thanks needed. He hung up the dish towel. Now, you take Nia's bed. Fresh sheets are in the closet. I'll be out here on the couch if you need anything. I can't take your daughter's bed. You can, and you will. Discussion's over. Marcus smiled. Get some rest, Victoria. You've had one hell of a day. She nodded, retreating to the bedroom. Marcus heard the door close softly, heard her moving around inside. He pulled blankets from the hall closet and made up the couch. The fire crackled. The wind howled, and Marcus lay there, staring at the ceiling, thinking about the woman asleep in his daughter's room. a billionaire CEO, in his cabin, wearing his clothes, because he'd done what any decent person would do. Life was weird sometimes, but maybe, just maybe, weird was exactly what they both needed. Marcus woke to the smell of coffee. For a moment, he forgot where he was, why his back hurt, why he wasn't in his bed. Then memory flooded back. The blizzard, the woman, Victoria Langston, CEO, $17 billion, sleeping in Nia's room. He sat up, rubbing his neck. The cabin was quiet except for soft sounds from the kitchen. Marcus checked his watch. 6:15. The storm outside had quieted to a steady snowfall. Victoria stood at the stove, still wearing his Marines t-shirt and sweatpants, her hair loose around her shoulders. She was making eggs. "You're up early," Marcus said. She turned, startled. "I'm sorry. Did I wake you? I tried to be quiet." "No, I always wake up around now. Force of habit." Marcus stood, folding the blankets. "You didn't have to make breakfast." "I wanted to. You've done so much for me. It's the least I could do." She gestured at the pan. "I found eggs in your fridge. I hope that's okay." "It's fine." Marcus moved to the coffee pot, poured himself a cup. "You sleep all right?" "Better than I have in months, actually." Victoria cracked another egg into the pan. "Your daughter's bed is very comfortable and quiet. My penthouse in Manhattan. There's always noise. Sirens, traffic, construction. Here, all I heard was the wind." "That's Wyoming for you. Quiet until it's trying to kill you." Victoria laughed. The sound surprised them both. They ate at the small table again, the wobbling chair creaking under Marcus's weight. Outside, dawn was breaking gray and cold. The snow had stopped, but the world was buried under 2 feet of white. "I should check the roads," Marcus said, finishing his eggs. "See if they're clearing the highway yet." He pulled out his phone, frowned at the screen. "What's wrong?" Victoria asked. "No service. Must be a tower down." Marcus stood, grabbed the old radio from the shelf. Static filled the cabin as he turned the dial, searching for the local station. "Highway 80 remains closed between Laramie and Rawlins. Multiple vehicles stranded, several jackknifed semis blocking lanes. State Patrol advises all residents to stay home. Secondary roads are impassable. Repeat, do not attempt travel." Marcus shut off the radio. "So we're stuck," Victoria said quietly. "Looks like it, at least until this afternoon, maybe longer." Marcus rubbed his face. "I need to call my sister. Let her know I'm okay. Can I borrow your phone? See if you have better service?" Victoria handed it over. Marcus dialed, waited. Relief flooded his face when someone answered. "Keisha? Yeah, it's me. I'm fine. Storm trapped me at the garage last night." He paused, listening. "No, I'm not alone. I've got someone staying at the cabin. Woman got stranded. Her car died. I couldn't leave her out there." Another pause. "Her name's Victoria. She's okay. How's Nia?" Whatever his sister said made Marcus smile. "Tell her I love her. Tell her I'll be there as soon as the road's clear." His voice softened. "And thank you, Keisha, for watching her. For always watching her." He listened again, nodded. "Okay. You too. Bye." He handed the phone back to Victoria. "My sister says I'm an idiot for going out in the storm, but she's glad I helped you." "She sounds like a good person." "Best person I know. She's been my rock since Nia's mom left." The words came out before Marcus could stop them. He grimaced. "Sorry. You don't need to hear about that." "I'd like to hear about it," Victoria said gently. "If you want to talk." Marcus sat back down. The wobbling chair creaked. He stared into his coffee cup like it held answers. "Nia's mom left when Nia was 2, he said finally. Didn't leave a note. Didn't leave a forwarding address. Just gone. One day she was there. The next day she wasn't.
Oh, Marcus, I'm so sorry.
Don't be. She wasn't happy. I couldn't make her happy. The struggling, the bills, the small-town life. She wanted more. She deserved more. I just couldn't give it to her.
That doesn't make it right,
Victoria said firmly. Walking away from your child is never right. Maybe not, but I don't blame her anymore. I did for a long time, but now I focus on Nia, on being enough for her, on showing her that one parent who stays is better than two parents who resent each other. Victoria reached across the table, covered his hand with hers. The gesture was simple, but Marcus felt the weight of it, the comfort, the understanding. "You're a good father," she said. "Anyone can see that." "I'm trying to be. Some days I'm not sure I'm succeeding." Marcus pulled his hand back, not unkindly, just uncomfortable with the intimacy. "What about you? You got kids?"
No, never married either.
Victoria's smile was sad. "Married to the job, as they say. Though that's just an excuse." An excuse for what? For being afraid, of letting someone in, of being vulnerable. She stood, started clearing plates again. It's easier to build a company than build a relationship. Companies have metrics, projections, clear paths to success. People are messy, unpredictable. They leave. Marcus heard the echo of his own pain in her words. "Yeah," he said quietly. "They do." They washed dishes in silence again. When they finished, Marcus pulled on his jacket. "I'm going to dig out the driveway. Check on your car, see what I'm working with." "Can I help?" Marcus looked at her. This billionaire CEO in his old sweatpants, asking to shovel snow. "You ever shoveled before?" he asked. "No." "You're about to learn." He found an extra pair of boots, too big for Victoria, but workable with extra socks. A spare jacket that had belonged to Nia's mom, left behind in the closet, never thrown away because Marcus couldn't afford to waste good winter gear. Gloves that didn't match. Victoria put it all on without complaint. Outside, the world was transformed. Everything buried. Everything quiet. The sun broke through clouds, making the snow glitter like diamonds. Marcus handed Victoria a shovel. "Start at the steps. Push forward, lift, toss to the side. Don't try to throw it too far, or you'll hurt your back. Nice and easy." Victoria took the shovel, positioned it like he showed her, pushed. The blade hit packed snow and stopped. She pushed harder. Nothing moved. "You're trying to muscle it," Marcus said. "Let the shovel do the work. Shallow scoops. You're not trying to move all the snow at once." Victoria tried again. This time, the shovel bit through, lifting a small scoop of snow. She tossed it aside, breathing hard. "Good, just like that. Keep going." Marcus moved to the driveway with his own shovel. The work was hard, mindless, the kind of work that let his thoughts drift. He watched Victoria out of the corner of his eye, this woman who probably had people to do everything for her, learning to shovel snow like it mattered. After an hour, they'd cleared a path from the cabin to the garage. Victoria's face was red from cold and effort. She was breathing hard, sweating despite the temperature. "You okay?" Marcus asked. "I'm great," Victoria said, and to his surprise, she was smiling. "I haven't done physical work like this in, God, I don't know, maybe ever." "Welcome to my world. Come on, let's check your car." They walked to where the sedan sat buried. Marcus brushed snow off the hood, the windshield. The damage was worse in daylight. Ice had formed in the engine compartment. The battery was completely shot. "Can you fix it?" Victoria asked. "Maybe. Probably. But not today. I need to let everything thaw. Get some replacement parts. Marcus straightened up. You might be stuck here another night. He expected her to look upset. Instead, Victoria just nodded. Okay, she said simply. Marcus studied her face. You're not worried about work? About missing meetings? I should be. Victoria pulled off her gloves, flexed her fingers. But honestly, I'm not. My executive team can handle things for a day or two. Maybe it's good for them. Good for me. To realize the company doesn't collapse without me micromanaging every decision. That's a pretty healthy attitude for a CEO. Or a sign I'm burning out. Victoria met his eyes.
Can I tell you something? Something I haven't said out loud to anyone? Yeah, of course. I'm tired, Marcus. So tired. I've spent 20 years building this company, working 80-hour weeks, sleeping in my office, missing birthdays, holidays, life. And for what? So I can have more money than I could spend in 10 lifetimes? So I can sit in board meetings arguing about quarterly projections? Her voice cracked. Marcus watched her fight for composure. I have everything, she continued. And I have nothing. No family, no real friends. Just employees and shareholders and business associates. People who want something from me. People who see the title, not the person. Victoria, when you pulled me from that car yesterday, do you know what I thought? In that moment when I was sure I was dying, she looked at him. I thought, this is it. This is all my life was. Work and money and nothing that actually matters. And I felt relieved, like dying would be easier than admitting I wasted my entire life chasing the wrong things. Marcus didn't speak. He just waited. Then you brought me here, Victoria said. To your home. Your real home, not some showpiece. And you fed me soup your daughter made. And you gave me your clothes and your bed and expected nothing in return. And I realized, this is what I've been missing. This, connection, humanity, kindness without an agenda. Victoria, you nearly froze to death. You might be... I'm not traumatized or confused, Victoria interrupted. I'm clear-headed, maybe for the first time in years. Being here, with you, in this cabin that's worth less than my car, I feel more myself than I do in my Manhattan penthouse. Marcus absorbed this, the raw honesty, the vulnerability. He recognized it because he'd felt it too, that first year alone with Nia, when he realized his entire life had become survival mode, and he'd forgotten what living actually meant. You want to know what I think? Marcus said finally. Yes. I think you're human. And humans aren't meant to be alone. We're not meant to measure our worth in dollars and achievements. We're meant to connect, to matter to people who matter to us. He paused. You matter, Victoria. Not because you're a CEO, but because you're you. A person who got scared in a storm and trusted a stranger. That takes courage. Victoria's eyes filled with tears. She blinked them away angrily. I don't cry, she said. You're not crying. You're just processing. Marcus smiled gently. Come on, let's go inside. I'll make you real coffee, not that instant garbage. And you can tell me about your company, the parts you actually like about it. They trudged back to the cabin. Marcus made coffee, while Victoria sat on the couch, wrapped in the blanket, staring into the fire. I do like parts of it, she said finally. I like solving problems. I like building things. I like watching someone's idea become reality. Like what?
Marcus handed her a mug. We developed an electric engine system that cuts emissions by 40%. Took us 3 years and $200 million in R&D, but we did it. That felt good, important. That is important. Yeah, but then it becomes about profit margins and production costs, and I forget why we did it in the first place. Victoria sipped her coffee. What about you? What do you like about fixing cars? Same thing, actually. Solving problems. Taking something broken and making it work again. Marcus sat in the wobbling chair. There's this satisfaction when an engine turns over after hours of troubleshooting. When someone brings in a car that 3 other mechanics gave up on, and I figure out what's wrong. That moment when it all clicks. You're good at what you do. I'm decent. Not much else I could do anyway. Never finished college. Got my girl pregnant at 19, dropped out to work. Then joined the Marines, did 2 tours, came back and bought this garage with my discharge pay. Marcus shrugged. It's not a fancy life, but it's mine. Do you regret it, not finishing school? Sometimes, especially when Nia asks me for help with algebra and I'm useless. Marcus smiled. But no, not really. I learned more from the Marines than I ever would have from a degree. Discipline, responsibility, how to stay calm when everything's going to hell. I can see that. The way you handled yesterday, he didn't panic. Panicking kills people. Action saves them. Marcus finished his coffee. My drill sergeant used to say, Reed, thinking is for after, doing is for now. Took me a while to understand he meant you can't freeze when someone needs help. You act first, process later. That's how you live your whole life, isn't it? Victoria said. Action. Doing what needs to be done. Pretty much. Don't have the luxury of overthinking. Marcus stood. Speaking of which, I need to inventory what parts I'll need for your car. You want to help, or would you rather stay warm? I'll help. They spent the afternoon in the garage, Marcus teaching Victoria the names of parts, showing her how to diagnose problems. She asked questions like a student, listened like she actually cared about the answers. This is the alternator, Marcus explained, pointing. It charges the battery while the engine runs. Yours failed, probably from the cold. See this connection here? It's corroded. That's your first clue. Victoria leaned in, examined it. How did you learn all this? Trial and error, mostly. Watched a lot of YouTube videos, read manuals, asked other mechanics. Marcus wiped his hands on a rag. Nobody handed me a degree in auto repair. I just kept trying until I figured it out. That's impressive. It's necessity. Can't afford to pay someone else to fix things when I can learn to do it myself. Victoria went quiet. Marcus glanced at her. What? He asked. Nothing, just... You're remarkable, Marcus Reed, and I don't think anyone's told you that enough. Marcus felt heat rise in his face. He turned back to the engine, uncomfortable with praise. I'm just doing what I have to do, he muttered. No, you're doing more than that. You're raising a daughter alone, building a business, helping strangers in storms, and you act like it's nothing, like you're nothing. But you're not. Marcus's hands stilled on the wrench. Victoria, I'm serious. In my world, people brag about achievements half as meaningful as what you do every single day. And you just show up, do the work, ask for nothing. She moved closer. That's real strength, the kind money can't buy. Marcus looked at her, really looked at her. This woman who had everything and nothing, who saw something in him he couldn't see in himself. Thank you, he said quietly. That means something. They worked in comfortable silence after that. Outside, afternoon faded to evening. The temperature dropped again. Marcus's phone buzzed. Service is back, he said, checking messages. Keisha says roads might open tomorrow morning. They've got plows running now. That's good, Victoria said. But neither of them moved. Neither of them suggested calling a tow truck or making plans to leave. You hungry? Marcus asked instead. Starving. Spaghetti okay? It's pretty much all I've got left. Spaghetti sounds perfect. They walked back to the cabin together as darkness fell. Marcus boiled water while Victoria set the table. The domesticity of it struck him. How natural this felt, this stranger in his space, like she belonged here. Over dinner, Victoria asked about Nia. Marcus showed her photos on his phone. Nia at her science fair. Nia playing basketball. Nia asleep on the couch, book open on her chest.
She's beautiful, Victoria said. She has your eyes. Poor kid, Marcus smiled. But yeah, she's my whole world. Everything I do is for her.
She's lucky to have you.
I'm the lucky one.
Later, after dishes were done and the fire was stoked, they sat on the couch together. Not touching, but close. The TV played an old western neither of them watched.
Marcus, Victoria said softly, can I ask you something?
Sure.
Why aren't you married? A good man like you.
Marcus was quiet for a long moment. I've tried, he said finally. Dated a few women over the years, but it never works out. They meet Nia, realize I come with responsibilities, and they're gone. Or they stick around but resent her. I won't put my daughter through that.
So you're alone.
I've got Nia, got my sister. That's enough.
Is it?
Marcus turned to look at Victoria. Her eyes held questions he wasn't ready to answer. Has to be, he said quietly. Victoria nodded. She understood. The walls people build, the safety and solitude, the fear of wanting more. I should let you sleep, Marcus said, standing. Big day tomorrow. Getting your car fixed, getting you back to your life.
Right, yes.
Victoria stood too.
Thank you, Marcus, for everything.
You keep saying that.
Because I keep meaning it.
She went to Nia's room. Marcus made up the couch again, but as he lay there, staring at the ceiling, listening to the cabin settle, he knew something had shifted. In him, in her, in whatever this was between them. Tomorrow she would leave, back to her billions and boardrooms, and he would stay here, fixing cars and raising his daughter. But tonight, for just tonight, they were two people who'd found something unexpected in a storm. And that would have to be enough. Marcus didn't sleep. He lay on the couch watching shadows from the fire dance across the ceiling, listening to Victoria move restlessly in Nia's room. Around 3 a.m, he heard her door open. Footsteps crossed the cabin.
Can't sleep either? Marcus said quietly. Victoria jumped. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to wake you.
You didn't. I've been up.
Marcus sat up, made room on the couch.
You want to sit?
She hesitated, then crossed to the couch. They sat in the firelight, not speaking at first. The silence was comfortable, familiar somehow. I keep thinking about tomorrow, Victoria said finally. Going back. And I don't want to.
Your company needs you.
My company needs a CEO. It doesn't need to be me.
She pulled the blanket tighter around her shoulders.
Do you know what I did last quarter? I sat in 14-hour meetings debating whether to move production from Michigan to Mexico. Hundreds of people would lose their jobs either way. But the numbers said Mexico, so Mexico it was. And I signed the papers and went home and drank a bottle of wine and tried to forget I just destroyed families to improve a profit margin. Marcus didn't offer empty comfort. He just listened. I used to believe I was changing the world, Victoria continued. Making better products, advancing technology, creating jobs. But somewhere along the way, it became about stock prices and shareholder value, and I forgot the people. The real people. Like you.
I'm just one person.
You're not just anything, Marcus. That's what I'm trying to say.
Victoria turned to face him. In 2 days, you've shown me more humanity than I've experienced in 20 years of business. You didn't see a billionaire. You didn't see an opportunity. You saw a person who needed help, and you helped. No agenda, no expectation of return, just basic human decency.
That's how people should be.
But they're not. Most people aren't. Her voice cracked. God, I sound pathetic. Poor little rich girl complaining about her life.
You don't sound pathetic. You sound lonely. Marcus met her eyes. I know lonely. It looks different in a penthouse than it does in a cabin. But it's the same thing.
Wanting connection, wanting to matter to someone. Do I matter to you?
The question hung between them. Marcus knew he should deflect, make a joke, keep the walls up. But sitting here in the darkness with this woman who'd stripped away all her armor, he couldn't lie.
Yeah, he said softly. You do.
Victoria's breath caught. For a moment, Marcus thought she might cry. Instead, she reached out and took his hand. Her fingers were cold. He wrapped both hands around hers, warming them.
Thank you, she whispered.
They sat like that until the fire burned low and dawn started breaking gray through the windows. Then Victoria stood, retreated to Naya's room, and Marcus finally fell asleep on the couch with the ghost of her touch still on his skin. He woke to his phone ringing. Keisha.
Roads are open, his sister announced without preamble. Plows came through an hour ago. Highway still rough, but passable. When are you coming to get Naya?
Marcus checked his watch. 8:30.
Soon. I need to fix a car first.
The stranded woman's car?
Yeah.
And then she'll leave. It wasn't a question. Keisha knew him too well.
Yeah, Marcus said.
Then she'll leave. You okay with that?
Have to be.
Marcus stood, stretched his aching back. I'll be there by noon. Tell Nia I love her. She already knows, but I'll tell her anyway. Marcus made coffee. Victoria emerged from the bedroom, dressed in her own clothes now, dried overnight by the fire. The expensive slacks and cashmere sweater looked foreign after 2 days of his sweatpants, like watching her put armor back on. Roads are open, Marcus said, handing her coffee.
I heard.
Victoria accepted the mug.
I should call my office. Let them know I'm alive.
Probably a good idea. She pulled out her phone, walked to the window. Marcus busied himself making breakfast, but he could hear her side of the conversation.
Daniel, it's me. Yes, I'm fine.
My car broke down in the storm. I had to shelter in place. No, I don't need a rescue team. I'm perfectly safe. The Wyoming meetings are postponed. I'll be back in New York by tomorrow. A pause. Because I need to handle some things here first. Just manage things for another day. You're perfectly capable. She hung up, set the phone down harder than necessary. Everything okay? Marcus asked. My COO thinks I'm having a breakdown because I'm not racing back to the office. Victoria sat at the table. He actually suggested sending a helicopter to extract me. A helicopter? For a car breakdown? That's my life. Everything's a crisis. Everything requires immediate executive action. She laughed without humor. You know what's funny? The company ran fine without me for 2 days. Probably ran better. Daniel made 3 decisions I would have agonized over for weeks. Maybe that's a sign. Of what? That you don't have to do everything yourself. That it's okay to delegate. To trust people. Marcus slid eggs onto plates. Even CEOs need help sometimes. Victoria picked up her fork, but didn't eat. Can I ask you something? And will you give me an honest answer? Always. Do you think I'm crazy? For feeling this way? For wanting to walk away from everything I've built? Marcus thought about it. Really thought about it. No, he said finally. I think you're human. And humans aren't meant to sacrifice everything for work. We're meant to live, to connect, to find meaning beyond a paycheck. He paused. But I also think you're scared, because walking away is easier than fixing what's broken. Victoria flinched. That's harsh. You asked for honest. I did. She took a bite of eggs, chewed slowly. You're right. I am scared. I've spent my whole adult life being the CEO. If I'm not that, I don't know who I am. Then maybe it's time to find out. They ate in silence. After breakfast, Marcus grabbed his tools. Time to fix your car, he said.
You ready to get back to the real world? No, but let's do it anyway. They worked on the car together, Marcus explaining each step, Victoria handing him tools like they'd done this 100 times before. The battery needed replacing. The alternator needed cleaning. The electrical system needed reset. This is going to take a few hours, Marcus said, wiping grease from his hands. I need to get some parts from my supplier in town. You want to come with me? I'd like that. They climbed into Marcus's truck, a beat-up Ford that started on the third try. The drive into town took 20 minutes, on roads still lined with snowbanks. Victoria stared out the window like she'd never seen a small town before. This is where you live, she said. Where you've built your life. Population 2,000. Everyone knows everyone. Small grocery store, smaller hardware store. One diner that makes the best pie you'll ever eat. Marcus turned onto Main Street. Not much, but it's home. He pulled up to Joe's Auto Parts, a building that looked like it might collapse in a strong wind. Inside, an older white man with a gray beard looked up from his newspaper. Marcus Reed. Thought the storm might have finally killed you. Takes more than a blizzard, Joe. Marcus approached the counter. Need a battery for a luxury sedan. European make. And some electrical connectors. Joe whistled. Fancy. You finally get a rich customer? Something like that. Marcus glanced at Victoria, who was examining old car manuals with genuine interest. Can you get me the parts? Give me 20 minutes. They waited in the truck with the heater running. Victoria was quiet, thoughtful. This is your world, she said. Knowing everyone's name, fixing their cars, being part of a community. Yeah, it's not glamorous. No, but it's real. Victoria turned to him. Marcus, I need to tell you something, and I need you to let me finish before you respond. Marcus's stomach tightened. Okay. I came to Wyoming looking for automotive facilities to expand my manufacturing operations. I've been scouting locations, meeting with suppliers, analyzing infrastructure. That was the meeting I was driving from. Victoria took a breath. But what I've really been looking for is talent. Real talent. Not MBAs from Harvard. Not corporate climbers. Real people who understand cars from the ground up. Who care about the work, not just the paycheck. Victoria, let me finish. Her voice was firm. You're exactly what I've been searching for. You diagnose problems other mechanics miss. You work with minimal resources and maximum efficiency. You understand customer service because you actually care about people. You're a natural leader, even if you don't see it. Marcus's hands gripped the steering wheel. What are you saying? I'm saying I want to hire you. Not as a mechanic, as a regional operations manager. You'd oversee our Wyoming facilities, train mechanics, implement quality standards. Starting salary, $200,000 a year. Full benefits, stock options, a future. The numbers hit Marcus like a physical blow. 200,000. That was... He couldn't even process that. I can't. Before you say no, think about what this means. Think about Nia. You could send her to any college she wants. No student loans. No struggling. You could give her everything. Victoria, stop. Marcus's voice was harder than he intended.
Just stop. She went quiet. I appreciate the offer, Marcus said, forcing himself to stay calm. I really do. But I can't accept it.
Why not?
Because this is charity. Dressed up as a job offer, but charity all the same.
It's not charity. It's recognition of your worth.
Is it? Or is it guilt because you have billions and I have nothing? Marcus turned to face her. You feel bad about the life you've lived, the choices you've made.
And you think you can fix it by fixing me. But I don't need fixing, Victoria. I'm not broken. I never said you were broken. You're offering me a job I'm not qualified for, a salary that doesn't make sense. Why? Because I was nice to you during a storm? Because I made you feel human for 2 days? That's not a business decision. That's emotion. Victoria's jaw tightened. You're right. It is emotion. Because for the first time in 20 years, I met someone genuine. Someone who doesn't want anything from me. Someone who sees me as a person, not a title. And yes, I want to help you. I want to give you opportunities you deserve. Is that so wrong? It's wrong when it comes from pity. It's not pity, Victoria's voice rose. Marcus, you're brilliant. You could run operations for any automotive company in this country. You just never got the chance because you were too busy surviving. I'm not offering you charity. I'm offering you what you should have had all along.
Marcus stared through the windshield. Joe appeared in the shop doorway waving. Parts were ready. I need to think about it, Marcus said finally. It's too much, too fast. I understand. Take all the time you need. They got the parts in silence, drove back in silence. The ease between them was gone, replaced by tension and unspoken words. Back at the garage, Marcus installed the new battery, cleaned the connections, reset the electrical system. Victoria's car turned over on the first try. You're all set, Marcus said, closing the hood. Should get you wherever you need to go. Thank you. Victoria pulled out her wallet. What do I owe you? Nothing. Marcus, I'm not charging you for helping someone in an emergency. Put your wallet away. Victoria's expression hardened. See, this is exactly what I'm talking about. You do skilled labor and refuse payment. You devalue yourself constantly. Why? Because not everything is about money.
No, but survival is. And you're barely surviving, Marcus. I see it. The worn furniture, the empty fridge, the jacket with holes in the elbows. You're one emergency away from disaster, and you're too proud to accept help. I'm not too proud. I'm too smart. Marcus threw his wrench into the toolbox. You know what happens when people like you give people like me opportunities? We become dependent. We become grateful. We become owned. I've seen it happen. Rich people swooping in to save poor people. But there's always strings attached. Always expectations. There are no strings. There are always strings, Marcus's voice echoed in the garage. Maybe you don't see them. Maybe you don't mean for them to be there, but they exist. And I won't put myself or my daughter in that position. Victoria stepped back like he'd slapped her. So that's it? You're just going to keep struggling? Keep barely making rent? Keep watching your daughter go without because you're too stubborn to accept help from someone who actually cares? Someone who's known me for 2 days. Sometimes 2 days is enough. They stood there, both breathing hard, both furious and hurt in equal measure. The air between them crackled with everything unsaid. I should go, Victoria said quietly, before we say things we'll regret. Yeah, you should. She climbed into her car, started the engine, rolled down the window. The offer stands, she said. $200,000 a year, regional operations manager. Think about it, Marcus. Really think about it. Not for me, for Nia. She drove away before he could respond.
Marcus stood in his garage, surrounded by tools and oil stains, and the life he'd built with his own 2 hands. His phone buzzed. A text from Keisha. "Nia's asking when you're coming. She misses you." Marcus closed his eyes.
200,000 a year. He could buy Nia anything she wanted, everything she needed. College fully funded. No more worrying about rent or groceries or keeping the lights on. But at what cost? He texted back, "On my way. Tell her I love her." Marcus locked up the garage, climbed into his truck, and drove toward his sister's house. But his mind stayed behind, trapped in the moment Victoria's car disappeared around the corner. She was right about one thing. He was barely surviving. One bad month, one broken-down truck, one unexpected expense, and he'd lose everything. But he'd lose it on his own terms, not because he owed someone, not because he'd accepted charity disguised as opportunity. The truck hit a pothole. Marcus gripped the wheel tighter. Or maybe he was just a fool, too proud to accept help, too scared to believe someone might actually see his worth without ulterior motives. He pulled into Keisha's driveway. Nia burst out the front door before he could even turn off the engine. "Dad!" She ran to him. Marcus caught her, lifted her up despite the fact she was getting too big for this, spun her around. She laughed, and it was the best sound in the world. "I missed you, baby girl," Marcus said, setting her down. "I missed you too. Aunt Keisha said you saved someone in the storm. Is that true?" Marcus looked at his daughter's eager face, thought about Victoria's words. "Think about it. Not for me, for Nia." "Yeah," he said. "I helped someone who needed it." "Because that's what we do," Nia said proudly. "We help people. You always say that." "I do say that." "Was she nice, the person you helped?" Marcus thought about Victoria, her vulnerability, her offer, her anger when he refused. "Yeah," he said softly. "She was nice." Inside, Keisha made him coffee while Nia showed him a science project she'd started. A model of the solar system made from painted styrofoam balls. She explained orbital patterns and gravitational pull with the confidence of someone twice her age. "This is amazing, Nia," Marcus said. "You did all this yourself?" "Aunt Keisha helped with the measurements, but I did the research," Nia beamed. "Mr. Patterson says if I keep this up, I could get a scholarship to MIT someday." MIT, Massachusetts Institute of Technology. One of the best engineering schools in the country. Probably cost $50,000 a year, maybe more. Marcus felt the weight of Victoria's offer press down on him again. "You could go anywhere you want," he told his daughter. "You're smart enough." "I want to go wherever has the best engineering program. MIT, Stanford, maybe Caltech." Nia adjusted Saturn's rings carefully. "But that's expensive, right? College?" "We'll figure it out. We always do." "I could get a job, help pay for it." "No." Marcus's voice was firm. "Your job is to study, to learn, to be a kid. Money is my job." Keisha watched from the kitchen doorway. Later, when Nia was in the bathroom, she cornered Marcus. "What happened?" she asked quietly. "What do you mean?" "You look like someone offered you a winning lottery ticket and you tore it up. What happened with the woman you helped?" Marcus told her. Everything. The storm, the 2 days together, the job offer, the fight. Keisha was quiet for a long moment. "You're an idiot," she said finally. "Excuse me? 200,000 a year and you said no because of pride?" "Marcus, that's not pride. That's stupidity." "It's not that simple. It's exactly that simple. A woman who knows the industry, who's worth billions, sees your value and offers you an opportunity. And you throw it back in her face because you're scared?" "I'm not scared." "Yes, you are. You're terrified. Because accepting means admitting you can't do everything alone.
and your whole identity is built on being the guy who handles everything himself.
Keisha crossed her arms. But guess what? You don't have to handle everything alone. That's not weakness. That's wisdom. Marcus opened his mouth to argue. Closed it. Opened it again. What if she's wrong? He said quietly. What if I can't do the job? What if I fail? Then you fail, and you learn, and you try again. Keisha's voice softened. But what if you succeed? What if you're exactly as capable as she thinks you are? What if this is the break you've been waiting for? I haven't been waiting for a break. Everyone's waiting for a break, Marcus. Some people are just too proud to admit it. Mia called from the bathroom. Needed help with something. Marcus went to her, grateful for the interruption. But that night, lying in his own bed in his cabin, he couldn't stop thinking about Keisha's words. What if this was the break he'd been waiting for? What if Victoria really did see something in him worth investing in? What if he was letting pride destroy his daughter's future? Marcus reached for his phone, pulled up the number Victoria had called from. His thumb hovered over the call button. Not yet. He needed more time. Needed to think. But tomorrow. Maybe tomorrow he'd call. Maybe. Marcus didn't call the next day, or the day after that. Instead, he threw himself into work, taking every job that came through the door. Mrs. Henderson's Buick needed new brake pads. The Morrison kids' Honda had a blown head gasket. Tommy Chen's truck was making a noise no one else could diagnose. Marcus diagnosed it in 20 minutes. Fixed it in 2 hours. Charged half what he should have. "You're too cheap, Reed," Tommy said, handing over cash. "You could charge double, and people would still come." "People around here don't have double," Marcus replied. He worked until his hands cramped and his back screamed. Worked until he was too exhausted to think about Victoria, or her offer, or the choice he was avoiding. But every night, lying in bed, the thoughts came anyway. 200,000 a year. Regional operations manager. A future for Nia. And all he had to do was accept it. On the third day, Nia asked him about college. They were eating dinner, spaghetti again, because it was cheap and filling. Nia had been quiet all through homework, picking at her food instead of devouring it like usual. "Dad," she said finally, "Mr. Patterson gave us college brochures today to start thinking about our futures." Marcus set down his fork. "You're 11. You've got plenty of time to think about college." "I know, but he said it's never too early to plan, to set goals." Nia pushed pasta around her plate. "I looked at the MIT brochure. The engineering program looks amazing. They have labs and research projects and professors who worked at NASA." "Sounds perfect for you." "Yeah, except it costs $65,000 a year." Nia's voice was small. That's a lot, right?" Marcus felt his chest tighten. "That's a lot. But we'll figure it out, baby girl. Scholarships, grants, financial aid. You're smart enough to get help paying for it." "What if I'm not smart enough? What if I don't get scholarships?" "Then we'll figure something else out. I'll work extra, save more. We'll make it happen." Nia looked up at him with those eyes that saw too much, understood too much for a child her age. "You're already working all the time, Dad. You're always tired. I see it." Her voice cracked. "I don't want you to work yourself to death just so I can go to some fancy school." "Nia." "Maybe I should just go to community college. Or maybe I don't need to go at all. I could learn online, get certifications." "Stop." Marcus reached across the table, took her hand. "Listen to me. You are going to college. A real college.
one that challenges you and helps you become everything you're meant to be. That's not negotiable.
But the money.
Is my problem, not yours. Your job is to dream big. My job is to make those dreams possible.
Marcus squeezed her hand. I mean it, Nia. Don't ever make yourself smaller because of money. You deserve the best. Nia's eyes filled with tears.
I just don't want to be a burden.
You could never be a burden. You're the reason I breathe. Marcus came around the table, pulled her into a hug. Everything I do is for you. Everything. Don't forget that. She clung to him, and Marcus felt the weight of every choice he'd ever made pressing down. The choice to keep her when her mother wanted to give her up for adoption. The choice to drop out of school and work. The choice to leave the Marines when his service was up, instead of re-enlisting for better pay.
The choice to buy this failing garage and try to build something stable. Every choice had been for her. Every sacrifice. Every struggle. And now, Victoria Langston was offering him a way to stop struggling. To give Nia everything she deserved, without the constant fear of one disaster destroying them. All he had to do was accept help. All he had to do was trust someone. That night, after Nia was asleep, Marcus finally pulled out his phone, stared at Victoria's number. His thumb hovered over the call button. The phone rang before he could decide. Victoria's name lit up the screen. Marcus answered. Hello? Marcus, it's Victoria. I hope I'm not calling too late.
No, I was thinking about calling you. Silence on the other end. Then,
can we talk? In person?
When?
Tomorrow. I'm still in Wyoming. I've been meeting with contractors, surveying facilities. But I'd like to see you, if you're willing.
Marcus closed his eyes. Yeah, okay.
Where? There's a diner in town. Sarah's place? The one you mentioned makes good pie. I know it.
Tomorrow, 10 in the morning. Please, Marcus, just hear me out.
I'll be there.
Marcus hung up, sat in the darkness of his cabin, listening to the silence. Tomorrow he'd face this. Tomorrow he'd make a choice. Tonight, he'd just sit here and try not to think about how terrified he was of making the wrong decision. Morning came too fast. Marcus dropped Nia at school, watched her run toward her friends with her backpack bouncing. She turned, waved, smiled. He waved back. Everything for her. Every choice. He drove to Sarah's place, a small diner that had been serving the same menu for 40 years. Victoria was already there, sitting in a booth by the window. She looked different than she had in his cabin. The CEO armor was back, but softer somehow. Tailored slacks and a sweater instead of a power suit. Hair pulled back, minimal makeup. She stood when she saw him.
Thank you for coming.
Yeah, Marcus slid into the booth across from her. So, talk. Sarah herself came over, a woman in her 60s who'd known Marcus since he was a kid.
Marcus Reed. Haven't seen you in here in months. You eating or just drinking bad coffee?
Coffee's fine, Sarah. Thanks.
And for you, hun? Sarah turned to Victoria. Coffee as well, and 2 slices of pie, whatever you recommend. Apples fresh this morning. I'll bring you both a slice.
Sarah disappeared toward the kitchen. Victoria folded her hands on the table.
I'm sorry for how things ended. I pushed too hard, made assumptions.
You offered me a job. That's not something to apologize for.
I offered you a job like I was doing you a favor, like you should be grateful. That was wrong.
Victoria met his eyes.
So let me be clear. This isn't charity, Marcus. This is business. I need someone like you.
My company needs someone like you.
You have thousands of employees, plenty of mechanics, managers. I have employees who work for paychecks. I need someone who cares, someone who sees cars as more than products, who sees customers as more than revenue streams. Victoria leaned forward. I watched you work. The way you explained things to me, taught me. The way you talked about your customers like they were family. That's what my company is missing. Heart, soul. Someone who remembers why we build cars in the first place. Sarah returned with coffee and pie, set them down without comment, and left them alone again. Marcus cut into his pie, bought himself time to think. The apple was perfect, sweet and tart, the crust flaky. He'd forgotten how good Sarah's pie was. I can't manage people, he said finally. I've never done it. You've managed a business for years. Solo operation, sure, but you handle inventory, scheduling, customer relations, finances. That's management. It's not the same as overseeing multiple facilities. No, it's harder. You do everything yourself, with no support. Imagine what you could do with a team, with resources. Victoria took a sip of coffee. I'm not asking you to be perfect from day one. I'm asking you to learn, to grow. I'll provide training, mentorship, support, whatever you need. And if I fail, then you fail, and we figure out what went wrong and how to fix it. That's business, Marcus. Failure is data, not a death sentence. Marcus ate more pie, drank his coffee, watched Victoria watch him with those eyes that had seen too much loneliness. Why me? He asked quietly. You could hire anyone, someone with experience, credentials, a track record. Why risk it on a struggling mechanic from nowhere, Wyoming? Victoria was silent for a moment. When she spoke, her voice was soft. Because in 30 years of business, I've learned that credentials don't mean much. MBAs from Harvard fail as often as they succeed. Experience doesn't guarantee wisdom. What matters is character, integrity, the ability to see what needs to be done and do it, even when it's hard. She paused. You pulled a stranger from a storm, took her into your home, expected nothing in return. That's leadership, Marcus. Real leadership. The kind you can't learn in a classroom. That was just being decent. Exactly. And decency is rare, especially in business. Victoria set down her coffee. I've built an empire, Marcus, but I've lost myself in the process. I forgot that business is about people. You reminded me. And I think you could remind my entire company what we're supposed to be doing, who we're supposed to be serving. Marcus felt something shift in his chest. Not the fear he'd been carrying, but something else. Recognition, maybe, or possibility. I have conditions, he heard himself say. Victoria's expression didn't change. I'm listening. I don't relocate. I stay here, in this town, near my daughter, my sister, my life. The regional office would be based in Cheyenne, 90 minutes from here. You'd need to be there a few days a week, but you could live wherever you want. I pick my own team. People from around here who need jobs. People who understand what it means to struggle. Agreed. In fact, I insist on it. Local hiring benefits everyone. And if this doesn't work out, if I decide it's not for me, or you decide I'm not cutting it, I walk away with no hard feelings, no lawyers, no mess. Deal. Though I'm confident it won't come to that. Marcus took a breath. Okay, I'll do it. Victoria's face transformed. Relief, joy, something that looked almost like tears. Really? Really. But I need time to transition. I've got customers depending on me. I can't just abandon them. Take whatever time you need. We'll work out a timeline that makes sense. Victoria reached across the table, offered her hand. Partners? Marcus looked at her hand, thought about everything this handshake meant. The life it could give Nia. The opportunities.
The security.
He shook her hand. Partners. They finished their pie. Victoria pulled out a folder from her bag, started outlining the basics. Salary, benefits, stock options, training schedule. Marcus's head spun with numbers and terms he barely understood. "I'll have my lawyers draw up a formal contract," Victoria said. "But I want you to get your own lawyer. Review everything. Make sure you're comfortable with the terms." "I don't have a lawyer." "Then I'll recommend someone. Independent, not connected to my company. Someone who'll look out for your interests." Victoria smiled. "I meant what I said, Marcus. This is a partnership. I want you to feel safe, protected. This only works if you trust me." "I'm trying to trust you." "That's all I can ask." They left the diner together. On the sidewalk, Victoria turned to him. "Thank you, Marcus, for giving me a chance, for giving this a chance." "Thank you for seeing something in me worth investing in." "It's there. You just don't see it yet." Victoria pulled out her keys. "I'm flying back to New York tonight, but I'll be in touch next week. We'll start the onboarding process, get you set up." She drove away in her repaired sedan. Marcus stood on the sidewalk, watching until she disappeared around a corner. His phone buzzed. Keisha. "Well, did you meet with her?" "Yeah." "And?" I said yes. Keisha screamed loud enough that Marcus had to pull the phone away from his ear. "Are you serious? Marcus, that's amazing! Oh my God, I'm so proud of you!" "It's terrifying." "Of course it's terrifying. Good things usually are." Keisha's voice softened. "You did the right thing. For you and for Nia." "I hope so." "I know so. Now go tell your daughter her college fund just got a whole lot healthier." Marcus hung up, drove to the elementary school, arrived just as lunch was starting. He signed in at the office, got a visitor's badge, found Nia in the cafeteria, sitting with her friend.
"Dad?" She looked up confused. "What are you doing here?"
"Can I talk to you for a minute? In private?" Concern flashed across her face, but she followed him to the hallway. They sat on a bench outside the library. "What's wrong?" Nia asked. "Nothing's wrong. Something's right, actually." Marcus took her hand. "Remember how you were worried about college? About the cost?" "Yeah." "You don't need to worry anymore. I got a new job. A really good job. With a big company. It pays enough that we can afford MIT. Or Stanford. Or anywhere you want to go." Nia's eyes went wide. "What? Really? How?" "The woman I helped during the storm. She owns an automotive company. She offered me a job managing operations. And I said yes." "But you love your garage." "I do. And I'll keep it running for now. Transition slowly. But this job, Nia, it's an opportunity. For both of us. Better salary, benefits, a real future. You can dream as big as you want now."
Nia threw her arms around him. "Dad, that's incredible! I'm so happy for you!"
Marcus hugged her back, feeling the weight he'd been carrying for 11 years finally start to lift. Not all the way. Fear still lived in his chest, doubt about whether he could actually do this job, whether he deserved it. But for the first time in a long time, hope lived there too. "I'm scared," he admitted quietly. "Of what?" "Of failing. Of not being good enough. Of letting you down." Nia pulled back, looked at him with those two wise eyes. "You could never let me down, Dad. You're the strongest person I know. And if that lady thinks you can do this job, then you can. You just have to believe it too." Out of the mouths of children. Marcus kissed her forehead. "When did you get so smart?" "I learned from the best," Nia grinned. "Can I tell my friends?"
Tell everyone. Shout it from the rooftops." Nia ran back into the cafeteria. Through the door, Marcus heard her announcing to her whole table that her dad got a new job, that she could go to MIT now, that everything was going to be different. Marcus sat on the bench alone, listening to his daughter's joy, and let himself believe it. Maybe everything would be different. Maybe he could do this. Maybe accepting help didn't make him weak. Maybe it made him smart. Maybe it made him a good father. He drove back to the garage, stood in the parking lot, looking at the building that had been his whole world for 8 years. The peeling paint, the crooked sign, the oil stains on the concrete. He'd built this from nothing, fought for every customer, every dollar, every small victory. This place represented everything he was: independent, self-sufficient, proud. But it also represented limitations, a ceiling he could never break through alone. Marcus pulled out his phone, texted Victoria. "When do I start?" Her response came seconds later. "Whenever you're ready. No rush. Do this on your timeline."
Marcus smiled, pocketed the phone, walked into his garage, and got to work. He had cars to fix, customers to serve, a business to transition, a life to change. But for the first time in years, he wasn't just surviving. He was building something bigger. And maybe, just maybe, he was exactly the person Victoria thought he was. He just had to trust himself enough to find out. 6 months changed everything. Marcus stood in the conference room of the new Cheyenne facility, watching his team present quarterly numbers to Victoria and her executive board. Tommy Chen, the guy whose truck he'd fixed for cheap, was now his head mechanic. Sarah's nephew David ran quality control. 3 other local hires, people who'd been struggling just like Marcus, now had real careers with benefits and futures. And they were exceeding every projection Victoria's analysts had made.
"Our customer satisfaction scores are 97%, Tommy said, pointing to the slide. "That's 12 points higher than the national average for our facilities. Turnaround time is down 30%, and we're under budget on parts because Marcus taught us how to diagnose efficiently instead of just replacing everything." Victoria leaned forward. "Walk me through that. How does better diagnosis reduce costs?" Marcus stood. 6 months ago, speaking in front of executives would have terrified him. Now it just felt like explaining something to a customer. "Most mechanics are trained to follow flow charts," he said. "Problem A means replace part B. It's safe, it's standard, but it's wasteful. We teach our people to actually listen to the car, understand what it's telling them. You can hear the difference between a worn belt and a failing pulley. You can feel whether it's an alignment issue or a suspension problem. That knowledge means we fix what's actually broken instead of shotgunning parts at it." One of the executives, a man in his 60s who'd been skeptical of Marcus from day one, spoke up. "That requires significantly more training time. How do you justify the cost? Because mechanics who understand their work stay longer. Our turnover rate is 8%. National average is 40%. Training costs are nothing compared to constantly hiring and retraining." Marcus met the man's eyes. "Plus, our people take pride in their work. They're not just swapping parts. They're solving problems. That matters." The executive nodded slowly, wrote something in his notebook. After the presentation, Victoria pulled Marcus aside. "You're a natural at this," she said. "I'm faking it." "No, you're doing it. There's a difference." Victoria smiled. "I'm increasing your territory. Colorado facilities are struggling. I want you to oversee those, too." Marcus felt his stomach drop. "Victoria, I'm still learning Wyoming. I can't—" "Yes, you can. You're ready." She touched his arm. "Trust yourself, Marcus. I do." She walked away before he could argue. Marcus stood there, overwhelmed and terrified, and somewhere underneath it all, proud.
His phone buzzed. Nia.
Dad, I got into the summer engineering program at the university. Full scholarship.
Marcus closed his eyes. Nia was 11 years old and already being recruited by colleges. Because she had the space to dream now. Because money wasn't strangling every possibility. That's amazing, baby girl. I'm so proud of you.
None of this happens without you, Dad. You know that, right? You changed our lives.
We changed our lives. Together. He hung up. Looked around the conference room. Modern furniture, big windows, technology everywhere. So different from his garage with its cracked concrete and makeshift office. But the work was the same. Fix what's broken. Help people. Do it right. Marcus could do that anywhere. The next few months were harder. Colorado operations were a mess. Understaffed, over budget, hemorrhaging customers. Marcus spent 3 days a week in Denver, 2 in Cheyenne, weekends at home with Nia. He was exhausted, overwhelmed, questioning everything. I'm in over my head, he told Keisha one Sunday afternoon. They were watching Nia's basketball game, and Marcus could barely focus on the court. You always feel that way when you're growing, Keisha said. Remember when Nia was born? You told me the same thing. I can't do this. I don't know how to be a father. And look at her now. Nia drove past 2 defenders and made a layup. The crowd cheered. She did that herself, Marcus said. She did it because you gave her the foundation, the confidence, the belief that she could do hard things. Keisha bumped his shoulder. Same thing you're doing now, building foundations. Stop doubting yourself. It's not that simple. It's exactly that simple. You're just making it complicated because you're scared of succeeding. Marcus wanted to argue. Couldn't, because she was right. On Monday, he fired 3 managers in Colorado. Not because they were bad people, but because they'd stopped caring, stopped seeing customers as humans, treated mechanics like replaceable parts. This isn't personal, Marcus told each of them. But if you don't care about the work, you can't be here. This company serves people. If you've forgotten that, it's time to move on. They called Victoria, complained, said Marcus was overstepping, making rash decisions, didn't understand corporate culture. Victoria called Marcus. Did you fire 3 managers today? She asked. Yes. Why? Marcus explained. The customer complaints, the mechanics quitting, the culture of apathy. And you think firing them fixes it? Victoria's tone was neutral. No, but keeping them guarantees nothing changes. I'd rather rebuild with people who care than maintain a system that's broken. Silence on the line. Marcus held his breath. Okay, Victoria said finally. Do it. Rebuild. You have my full support. Even if the executives disagree? Especially then. That's why I hired you, Marcus. To shake things up. To remind us what we're supposed to be. She paused. I trust you. Now trust yourself. Marcus rebuilt. Hired local mechanics, people who understood struggle. Implemented the same training he'd done in Wyoming. Listened to customers. Really listened. 3 months later, Colorado numbers turned around. Customer satisfaction up. Costs down. Employee retention climbing. The skeptical executive from the board meeting requested a private lunch with Marcus. I owe you an apology, the man said, over steaks Marcus still wasn't used to being able to afford. I didn't think you'd last 6 months. Thought Victoria was being sentimental, hiring some small-town mechanic. I was wrong. You weren't entirely wrong, Marcus said. I am a small-town mechanic. That's not an insult. No, it's your strength. You understand the ground level. You see what we miss from our executive offices. The man cut his steak. I've been doing this 30 years. Worked my way up from nothing, too. Somewhere along the way, I forgot what it felt like. You reminded me.
What do you mean?
I mean you care. Really care. Not about stock prices or quarterly reports. About people. About doing good work. He set down his fork. That used to be me, before I got comfortable. Before I started chasing promotions instead of purpose. Marcus didn't know what to say to that. Don't lose it, the executive continued. That fire, that integrity. The corporate world has a way of grinding it out of you. Don't let it.
I'll try.
Do more than try. Fight for it. The man met his eyes. Because people like you are rare. And companies like this need you more than you need us. That night, Marcus called Victoria. I had lunch with Richard today, he said. I heard. He told me it changed his perspective. He said, I care too much. You care exactly enough. Victoria's voice was warm. How are you holding up, really? Marcus looked around his cabin. Nia was doing homework at the table. New furniture now, but the same small space. He'd been offered company housing in Cheyenne, bigger places, nicer neighborhoods. He'd turned it down. This was home. This was enough. I'm tired, Marcus admitted. But good, I think. Mostly good. Just mostly? It's a lot. The travel, the responsibility, the decisions. Sometimes I miss my garage, the simplicity. You can go back to simple anytime, Victoria said quietly. But you won't, because you've seen what you're capable of now, what you can build, who you can help. Is that what you did? Saw what you were capable of and couldn't go back? Yes, for better and worse. Victoria was quiet for a moment.
Can I tell you something?
Always.
I'm stepping down as CEO. Officially announced it today.
Marcus sat up straight. What? Why?
Because I've been running this company for 25 years, and I'm tired too. Tired of board meetings and earnings calls and forgetting why I started this in the first place.
Her voice was steady. I'm staying on as executive chairman, still involved, still guiding strategy. But day-to-day operations, I'm handing that to someone who still has the energy for it. Victoria, I don't know what to say. You don't have to say anything. This isn't about you. It's about me finally learning the lesson you tried to teach me in that cabin. That there's more to life than work. That success without connection is empty. What are you going to do? I bought a house in Wyoming, outside Cheyenne. I'm going to spend more time there, less in New York. Maybe figure out who I am when I'm not a CEO. She laughed softly. I might need your help with that.
My help? Learning how to live a real life. You're good at that.
Marcus smiled. I'll do what I can. They talked for another hour, about life, about change, about fear and courage and everything between. When Marcus hung up, Nia was watching him. Is that the lady who gave you the job? She asked. Yeah. You smile different when you talk to her. Different how? Like you're not trying so hard. Like you're just you. Nia tilted her head. Do you like her? She's my boss, Nia. That's not what I asked. Marcus looked at his daughter. When had she gotten so observant? I respect her, he said carefully. She took a chance on me when no one else would. She saw something I didn't see in myself. That's not what I asked either. Marcus laughed. Finish your homework, kid. But Nia's question stayed with him. Did he like Victoria? Of course he did. She was brilliant, driven, vulnerable in ways she tried to hide.
She challenged him, believed in him, made him want to be better. But it was more complicated than just liking someone. She was still his boss, technically. Still lived in a world so different from his. Still had money and power and influence he'd never understand.
And yet, when they talked, none of that mattered. They were just two people who'd met in a storm and changed each other's lives. 6 months became a year. Marcus's territories expanded again. New Mexico, Utah. His team grew to 40 people, all local hires, all people who needed opportunities. He promoted Tommy Chen to regional manager, hired Sarah's daughter to run HR, gave David's brother a shot at operations management. "You're building an empire of second chances," Victoria told him during a site visit. "I'm building a team of people who care," Marcus corrected. "Second chances have nothing to do with it." Everything to do with it. You see potential where others see risk. That's rare.
They were standing in the Wyoming facility, watching mechanics work. It was late. Most of the staff had gone home, but a few were staying late to help a customer whose car had broken down on the highway. No extra pay. They just wanted to help. "That's what you built," Victoria said softly. "A culture where people want to help. Not because they have to, because they care." "I didn't build that. I just didn't destroy it." Marcus watched a young mechanic explain something to the stranded customer, patient and kind. "People want to do good work, want to help others. You just have to let them. Give them the tools, the support, the respect. They'll do the rest." "Is that your secret? Respect?" "It's not a secret. It's just basic humanity." Marcus turned to her. "You taught me that, actually, when you trusted me with this job. You respected me enough to believe I could do it. That changed everything." Victoria's eyes glistened. "You changed everything for me, too." "How?" "You reminded me why I started this company. I wanted to build things, help people, make a difference. Somewhere I forgot that. You brought me back." They stood in comfortable silence. Outside, Wyoming winter was settling in again. A year since the blizzard. A year since everything changed. "I bought the house," Victoria said suddenly. "The one outside Cheyenne. Closed last week." "That's great. When are you moving in?" "Next month." "I'm nervous. I've lived in Manhattan for 30 years. I don't know how to do small-town life." Marcus smiled. "You'll figure it out, just like I figured out corporate life." "Will you help me? Show me around? Introduce me to people?" "You don't need my help for that. You're perfectly capable." "I'm not asking as your boss. I'm asking as your friend." Victoria's voice was quiet. "If that's what we are, friends." Marcus looked at her, really looked at her. This woman who'd gone from CEO of a billion-dollar empire to someone who just wanted to belong somewhere, to matter to someone. "Yeah," he said softly. "We're friends." The next month was chaos. Victoria moved. Marcus helped, along with Keisha and Nia. They painted walls, assembled furniture, argued about where things should go. "This couch doesn't fit," Keisha announced, measuring the living room. "It cost $12,000, Victoria said. "It has to fit." $12,000 doesn't change physics, honey. It's too big." Victoria stared at the couch, then started laughing. "I bought a $12,000 couch without measuring the room. That's so stupid." "That's being rich," Marcus said. "You're learning to be normal now. First lesson, measure before you buy." They returned the couch, bought a normal one from a local furniture store for $800. Victoria sat on it with her coffee and declared it the most comfortable couch she'd ever owned. "Because it fits," Nia explained seriously. "Things that fit are always better than things that are expensive." Victoria looked at Marcus. "Your daughter is wise. She gets it from her aunt." Keisha threw a pillow at him. Life settled into a new rhythm. Marcus worked, Nia excelled. Victoria learned to live small. They had dinners together, the four of them, in Victoria's new house or Marcus's cabin. They watched Nia's basketball games, helped Keisha with her garden, argued about movies and politics, and whether pineapple belonged on pizza.
They became a family, not in the traditional sense, but in the way that mattered. People who cared about each other, who showed up, who built something real. One night, almost 18 months after the blizzard, Victoria pulled Marcus aside after dinner. "Walk with me?" she asked. They walked through her property, Wyoming stars bright overhead. February again. Cold but clear. "I've been thinking," Victoria said, "about the company, about succession planning."
Already? You just stepped down as CEO.
"I'm 62, Marcus. I need to think long-term." She stopped walking, turned to face him. "I want you to be my successor, as chairman, eventually." Marcus stared at her. "That's insane." "It's strategic." "Victoria, I've been in corporate leadership for 18 months. I can't run a multi-billion-dollar company." "Not now. But in 5 years? 10? Yes, you can." Her voice was firm. "You understand what this company should be, what it can be. You care about people, not just profits. That's the future I want." "There are dozens of executives more qualified." "Qualified isn't the same as right." "You're right, Marcus." Victoria took his hands. "I'm not asking you to decide tonight. I'm asking you to consider it. To see yourself the way I see you, the way your team sees you, the way Nia sees you." Marcus felt tears threaten, pushed them back. "I'm just a mechanic," he said quietly. "You're so much more than that. You've always been more than that. You just needed someone to see it." Victoria smiled. "I saw it in a blizzard, when you broke my car window and pulled me out, when you brought me to your home and expected nothing. That's leadership, Marcus. Real leadership." "I'll think about it," Marcus managed. "That's all I can promise." "That's enough." They walked back in silence. Inside, Nia and Keisha were doing dishes, laughing about something. Home. Family. Everything Marcus had built without even realizing it. Later, after everyone left, Marcus sat in his cabin alone, thought about everything that had happened. The blizzard, the offer, the fear, the growth. A year and a half ago, he'd been struggling to make rent, worried about Nia's future, alone except for his sister and daughter. Now he had a career, financial security, a future that stretched beyond survival. But more than that, he had proof of something he'd always suspected, but never believed. That he mattered. That his worth wasn't measured in money or credentials or where he came from. That character and integrity and basic human decency actually meant something in this world. Victoria had seen that, had bet everything on it, had changed his life because she believed in him. And in the process, he'd changed hers. Reminded her that life was more than quarterly reports, that connection mattered more than accomplishments, that success without humanity was just another kind of poverty. Marcus pulled out his phone, texted Victoria. "Thank you. For everything. For seeing me." Her response came immediately. "Thank you for letting me be seen." Marcus smiled, set down his phone. Tomorrow he'd go to work, lead his team, make decisions that affected hundreds of lives, continue building something that mattered. But tonight, he'd just sit here, in his small cabin, in his small town, with his big life. Because he'd learned something in that blizzard 18 months ago, something more important than any business lesson or corporate strategy. He'd learned that the smallest act of decency could change everything, that helping someone without expecting anything in return wasn't weakness, that being good mattered more than being rich. He'd learned that he was enough, exactly as he was. And maybe, just maybe, that was the most valuable lesson of all. The struggling black single-dad mechanic from nowhere, Wyoming, had rescued a billionaire CEO from a blizzard. But in the end, they'd rescued each other. From loneliness, from forgetting who they were, from believing that worth was measured in anything other than how you treated people when no one was watching. Marcus Reed had treated someone with kindness when he could have walked away. And that choice had built a family, a future, and a legacy neither of them saw coming. Not because kindness was rewarded, but because kindness was its own reward.
And sometimes, when you do the right thing simply because it's right, the whole world shifts to meet you.